I buried my husband in a $40,000 casket, empty. 6 months later, I found him in Paris, holding hands with my cousin. Don't believe me, let me tell you everything. The mahogany gleamed under cathedral lights. White roses cascaded down the sides. The press called it tasteful, elegant. A proper goodbye to Marcus Hunt, luxury consultant to Manhattan's elite. I wore Chanel, black of course, head high, shoulders straight, not a tear in sight. Everyone whispered about my composure. Such strength, they said. Such grace under pressure. They had no idea I was drowning. Marcus had been everything to me. 9 years of marriage, 9 years of quiet dinners and shared silences. He spoke in numbers and I spoke in dreams, but somehow we fit. Or so I thought. The accident happened off the Amalfi Coast. His yacht. A storm. They found wreckage. His passport. One leather shoe floating in the Mediterranean. No body. Sometimes the sea doesn't give them back. The Coast Guard told me in broken English. I'm sorry, Signora. I nodded. Signed papers. Flew home to plan a funeral for an empty casket. But something felt wrong from the start. The yacht's captain was missing too. No family came forward to claim him. The storm had been mild, barely worth mentioning in weather reports. And Marcus, he'd sailed through hurricanes. Loved the danger of it. Still, I pushed the doubts aside. Grief makes you paranoid, makes you see conspiracies in coincidences. The champagne flowed at the wake. Old money and new money mingled in our penthouse. Everyone spoke in hushed tones about what a tragedy it was. How young he was. How much potential lost. I smiled, thanked them for coming. Played the grieving widow perfectly. Claire held my hand through it all. My cousin. My maid of honor. My rock. I'll stay as long as you need, she promised. She left 3 weeks later. Said she needed to process her own grief. Said seeing me in pain was too much. I understood, or thought I did. At night alone in our king-sized bed, I fell apart. I'd reach for him in the dark. Wake up expecting coffee brewing in the kitchen. Hear his key in the lock and remember all over again that he was gone. The lawyers came with paperwork, insurance forms, asset transfers, estate planning. The life insurance will take time, they explained. Without a body, we need to wait. 7 years for legal death declaration. Unless we can prove death occurred. Witnesses, evidence. The Italian authorities' report might be enough, but insurance companies are notoriously difficult. I nodded, signed where they pointed. Let them handle the details. That's when I started finding things. First, it was small. A credit card statement with charges I didn't recognize. Jewelry stores, hotels, restaurants I'd never been to. All from the months before his death. Then came the safe deposit box key, hidden behind a loose tile in our bathroom. I'd been meaning to fix that tile for months. Finally got around to it 4 months after the funeral. The key was taped to the back. Small, brass, no markings. It took me 3 weeks to find the right bank. A small private institution in Chinatown. The kind that doesn't ask questions. Inside the box, passport copies. Not just Marcus's. 3 different names. 3 different nationalities. All with his photo. Account numbers. Banks in Switzerland. Cayman Islands. Singapore. And photos. Marcus and Claire. At a hotel. In a restaurant. Walking through Central Park. The dates made my stomach turn. Some were from years ago. Our 5th anniversary. My birthday. The weekend I visited my sick mother. I sat in that tiny bank vault for an hour, staring, processing, understanding. Then I did what Marcus taught me to do, I planned. First, I hired a forensic accountant, not from Marcus's firm, someone completely outside our circle. I want to understand our finances, I told him. For tax purposes, he found the patterns within a week. Money moving in circles, offshore accounts feeding into shell companies, all legal, all carefully structured, all hiding something. Your husband was very clever, he said. But there's something odd. Large withdrawals in the months before his death. Cash. Untraceable. How much? 3 million, maybe more. Next, I hired a private investigator. Former NYPD. Discreet. Expensive. My husband is dead, I told him. But I think he was having an affair. I need to know. He looked at me with tired eyes. You sure you want to know? I'm sure. The call came 6 weeks later, 2 a.m. I was awake anyway. Sleep had become a stranger. You need to see this, he said. Can you meet me? We met at an all-night diner in Queens. He slid a manila envelope across the table. Your friend Sarah took a vacation to Paris last week, he said. Posted these on Instagram. I opened the envelope. My hands steady, my heart racing. Photos from Café de Flore. Sarah smiling. The Eiffel Tower behind her. And in the corner of one shot, barely visible but unmistakable Claire. That's not all, he continued. I had a contact enhance the image. Look at the reflection in the window. I looked, squinted, saw it. A man's profile, strong jaw, familiar gesture hand running through dark hair. Marcus. Could be anyone, I said. Could be. He pulled out another photo. But this was taken the next day. Different cafe. Your friend has good timing. This one was clearer. Claire at a table. And across from her, turned 3/4 away but still recognizable, my dead husband. When were these taken? 5 days ago. I set the photos down. Took a sip of cold coffee. Calculated. I need more, I said. I need proof that will hold up in court. What kind of court are we talking about? I met his eyes, every kind. The investigator's name was Tommy Chen. Ex-cop turned private detective after a bullet in the shoulder ended his career. He had connections everywhere. FBI, Interpol, even some less official channels. Your husband's good, he said after 2 weeks of deep digging. Real good, but nobody's perfect. He was right. The mistake was small. A parking ticket in Monaco. Paid with a credit card linked to one of the shell companies. The name was fake, but the license plate was registered to a rental agency. Rental records show a British passport, Tommy explained. Name of James Whitmore. But here's the thing, the signature matches your husband's. Graphology confirmed it. So he's alive. Oh, he's alive all right. And busy. I tracked James Whitmore across Europe. Nice. Cannes. Saint-Tropez. Always 5-star hotels. Always with a woman matching your cousin's description. How long? The James Whitmore identity goes back 2 years. The planning probably longer. I thought about those 2 years. Our trips to Europe. Marcus always extending for business. Claire visiting at the same time coincidentally. All those pieces I'd ignored, willfully blind. There's more, Tommy said. Your husband owes money, not to banks, to people banks won't touch. What kind of people? The kind that break your legs for being late. Russian, connected. He got in deep on a real estate deal that went south. We're talking 8 figures. So he ran. He ran. But first he made sure he had traveling money. The FBI agent's name was Sarah Kim. Young, sharp, ambitious. Tommy knew her from his NYPD days. Insurance frauds federal, she explained over coffee. If we can prove he faked his death for the payout, that's serious time. I don't want him in jail, I said. I want him exposed, ruined, and I want my money back. She studied me. What if I told you we could do both? I'm listening. Your husband's not the only one who owes the Russians. They've been trying to flip someone inside that organization for years. Someone with access to financial records, international connections. Marcus. He testifies, provides intel, helps us build a RICO case. He gets witness protection, new identity, clean slate. And if he doesn't, then we prosecute. Him and your cousin. Conspiracy to commit fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, the whole menu. What do you need from me? Help us find him, and when we do convince him to cooperate. I agreed. What choice did I have? But I had my own plans too. While the FBI built their case, I built mine. I hired the best divorce attorney in Manhattan, explained the situation, showed him the evidence. Abandonment, he said. Fraud, adultery. We can file without his presence. Freeze all marital assets. You'll get everything. Not everything, I corrected. He's already taken millions. Then we'll take it back, with interest. The plan came together over the next month. Tommy tracked Marcus and Claire to a villa in Antibes. Rental records showed a 6-month lease. They were settling in, getting comfortable, getting sloppy. Sarah Kim assembled a team. International cooperation was tricky, but the Russian connection opened doors. Interpol was interested. The French were cooperative. We go in 2 weeks, she told me. But I want you there. He's more likely to cooperate if he sees you. Realizes the game's over. I'll be there. But first I had one more card to play. I called Claire's mother. My aunt. Told her I'd been having dreams about Claire. Worried about her. Did she know where she was? Paris, she said without hesitation. She's taking a sabbatical, healing from Marcus's death. She sends postcards. Postcards. Beautiful ones. Museums. Cafes. She seems happy. Finally. I thanked her. Hung up. Felt the last piece click into place. Claire wasn't hiding. She was living her dream life. Spending my money. Wearing my grandmother's ring, I'd confirmed that through the photos. 3 carats of family history on her lying finger. The flight to Nice felt like flying into battle. I wore my armor, a black Saint Laurent suit, Chanel sunglasses, my mother's pearl necklace, the one thing of value Claire hadn't stolen. Sarah Kim met me at the airport with 2 other agents. Tommy was already in Antibes watching the villa. They're creatures of habit, he reported. Morning run at 7, breakfast at the cafe on the corner, siesta from 2 to 4, dinner out every night. Tomorrow morning, then, Sarah decided. We take them at the cafe, public space, nowhere to run. That night I couldn't sleep. I stood on my hotel balcony looking out at the Mediterranean. The same sea that supposedly swallowed my husband. I thought about the empty casket, the funeral, the months of grief. Real grief for a false death. Part of me wanted to storm the villa that night, confront them in their bed. But I waited. Followed the plan. Morning came bright and clear. Perfect beach weather. I dressed carefully. Casual but elegant. The wronged wife, but not the victim. The cafe was exactly as Tommy described. Quaint, romantic, overlooking the harbor. I saw them before they saw me. Marcus in linen pants and a polo shirt. Tanned, relaxed. Claire in a sundress. I recognized she'd borrowed it last summer and never returned it. They were laughing, sharing a croissant, playing footsie under the table. The agents moved first. Quiet, professional, FBI badges out but discreet. Mr. Hunt, we need to talk. Marcus's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. His eyes found mine across the square. For a moment, time stopped. 9 years of marriage condensed into that look. I saw it all, the surprise, the guilt, the calculation. Then he smiled. That same crooked smile that made me fall in love with him. "Hello, Eleanor." Claire turned, gasped, went white as her stolen dress. This isn't—" "Save it," I said, sitting down at their table. "We have business to discuss." Sarah Kim laid out the options: cooperation or prosecution, witness protection or federal prison, a new life or no life at all. Marcus listened, calculated. I could see the wheels turning. "What about her?" He nodded at Claire. "She's part of the deal. You cooperate, she walks. You don't, she's charged as an accomplice." "And Eleanor?" "I get everything," I said simply. "The houses, the accounts, the assets you tried to hide, and that ring she's wearing." Claire's hand moved instinctively to cover my grandmother's ring. "It's all I have left of him," she whispered. "No," I corrected. "It's all you stole from me." The negotiation took 3 hours. Marcus tried to bargain. Protect some assets. Keep some dignity. But he had no leverage. The FBI had everything. The fraud, the debts. The Russians who were very interested in his whereabouts. In the end, he folded, like I knew he would. Marcus was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them. The paperwork took a month. Statements, depositions, financial audits. I learned the full scope of it. The gambling debts that started it all. The desperate deals with Russian oligarchs. The Ponzi scheme he'd used our friends' investments to fund. The fake death was almost an afterthought. A way to escape when it all came crashing down. The yacht captain was paid off, given a new identity in South America. The storm was a gift-perfect cover for an imperfect plan. "I never meant to hurt you," Marcus told me during one of the depositions. "I thought I could fix it, win it back, make it right. By stealing from me, by faking your death, by running off with my cousin." He had no answer to that. Claire tried to apologize once. Cornered me outside the federal building. "I loved him," she said. "I've loved him for years, before you even met." "Then you should have said something. Before the wedding. Before you stood next to me as my maid of honor." Would it have mattered? I thought about it. Honestly considered her question. "Yes," I said finally. "It would have mattered. I would have walked away. Found someone who loved me. Not my trust fund." She cried then. Ugly tears that ruined her makeup. I felt nothing. The space where sympathy should live was empty. Carved out. Cauterized. The divorce was finalized in record time. Abandonment. Fraud. The judge awarded me everything. Every penny. Every property. Even damages for emotional distress. Marcus got his deal. Witness protection after testifying. A new name. A new life. Probably in some suburb in Middle America. I hoped he hated it. Claire got nothing. No charges, but no money either. Last I heard, she was back living with her mother, working as a receptionist, posting motivational quotes on Instagram about new beginnings. The news cycle was brutal but brief. Manhattan widow discovers husband faked death for love affair. Insurance fraud scheme unravels in French Riviera. The wife who refused to be fooled. I gave one interview, controlled, dignified, on my terms. I mourned him, I said to the camera. Genuinely mourned a man who was sunbathing in France while I cried myself to sleep. The cruelty of that. It's breathtaking. "What's next for you?" the interviewer asked. "Living," I said simply. "Just living. But first I had to rebuild. I sold the penthouse. Too many ghosts. Bought a brownstone in Brooklyn instead. Something that was entirely mine. I liquidated Marcus's business. Used the proceeds to establish a foundation. Financial literacy for women. helping others recognize the signs I'd missed. The Russian money. The FBI seized most of it, but there was a finder's fee. Enough to know I'd never worry about money again. Dr. Patricia Lim became my twice-weekly appointment, a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. "You're angry," she observed during our third session. "Shouldn't I be?" "Anger's good, healthy. It's indifference you need to watch for." But indifference was easier, safer. I could be angry at Marcus, furious at Claire. But feeling meant remembering. And remembering meant admitting I'd been a fool. "You weren't a fool," Dr. Lim corrected. "You were in love, you trusted. That's not foolish, that's human." Slowly, session by session, I began to believe her. The single life was strange at first. No one to consider for dinner plans. No one's schedule to coordinate. No one's moods to navigate. I took cooking classes, learned to make pasta from scratch, joined a book club, started running in Prospect Park. Small steps, baby steps, but forward motion. Sarah's text came 6 months later. "Thought you should know. Russians arrested. Marcus testified brilliantly. It's over." I stared at the message, waited to feel something, relief, satisfaction, closure. Instead, I felt free. I deleted the text, blocked the number, closed that chapter. The invitation came a year later. Hand-delivered, expensive paper, familiar handwriting. I know I have no right to ask, but I'm getting married to someone who knows my whole story, who accepts it, accepts me. I'd like you to be there, to show there's no hard feelings, that we can both move on." Claire. I read it twice, then laughed. Actually laughed. The audacity was almost admirable. I sent back a single word, no, but I did send a gift. My grandmother's ring, cleaned, polished, in its original box. The note said, "Something borrowed, finally returned." The news of Marcus reached me through Tommy Chen. Professional courtesy, he called it. "Your ex violated his protection agreement," he said over coffee. "Caught running a new scheme in Kansas. They're sending him to federal prison. Thought you'd want to know." "How long?" 10 to 15. Probably serve 7 with good behavior." I nodded, sipped my latte, felt nothing but mild curiosity. "You okay?" Tommy asked. "You know what I actually am." And I was. Somewhere between the grief and the anger, between the betrayal and the revenge, I'd found myself again. Not the woman who'd married Marcus Hunt. Not the widow who'd buried an empty casket. Just Eleanor, flawed, scarred, but whole. The foundation grew. We helped dozens of women recognize financial abuse, escape bad marriages, build independent lives. At one fundraiser, a donor asked about my story. The real story, not the headlines. "My husband faked his death." I said simply. "Tried to steal everything, but I survived. More than survived, I thrived." "How?" she asked. "How do you trust again after that?" I thought about it. Really considered her question. "You don't," I said finally. "Not the same way. But you learn the difference between being trusting and being naive, between being vulnerable and being a victim. And love. Love," I smiled. "That's a work in progress." His name was David Chen, Tommy's younger brother, a professor at Columbia. Poetry of all things. We met at Tommy's barbecue, talked about books, argued about wine, laughed at Tommy's terrible jokes. "I know who you are," he said on our third date. "Tommy told me the whole story, and I think you're brave. Not many people could survive that. Fewer could thrive. I had help. Everyone needs help. The brave ones ask for it." We took it slow. Coffee dates, museum visits, long walks discussing Neruda and Oliver. He never pushed, never asked about Marcus, never treated me like damaged goods. I'm not easy. I warned him after 6 months. Who said I wanted easy? He replied. I like complicated. Complicated is interesting. The wedding was small. Just family. Real family. The kind that shows up when you need them. I wore ivory, not white. Second chances deserve their own color. Claire sent a card. Brief. Polite. Mentioned she was happy for me. Married herself now. A dentist from Jersey. 2 kids. I didn't respond. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. Marcus served 5 years. Got out on good behavior. Last I heard, he was selling used cars in Nevada. Still running small cons. Some people never change. I stopped keeping track after that. Stopped checking, stopped caring, the nightmare visits occasionally. The empty casket. The fake tears. The wasted grief. But now I wake to David's warmth. To poetry on nightstands. To love that doesn't calculate or deceive. Tell me, he said one night reading Rumi. What did you learn? I thought about it. About Marcus. Claire. The empty casket. The full life that followed. I learned that some deaths are gifts, I said. Even the fake ones. They show you who you really are, what you're really worth. And what are you worth? Everything, I said. I'm worth everything. He smiled, kissed me, went back to his poetry. Outside, Brooklyn hummed with life. Inside, I was finally completely home. Not the widow anymore. Not the victim. Not the woman who buried an empty casket and found a full life. Just Eleanor. And that was enough.